Hi, it's Will from the Yukon Gold podcast. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, but if you haven't, there's an easier way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's completely free, it's online and mobile, and there's creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, Stitcher, Amazon, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Now, if that seems like a good idea to you, follow this link below and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Yukon Gold podcast with Will S. Yukon Gold is about creating a sustainable future for everyone on planet Earth. We help people to reach their full potential by delivering the gold standard in renewable energy design and education. Follow, like, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And check us out at yukongoldenergy.com. Today on the podcast, I would like to talk about some of the trends that are happening in 2021. So last year, COVID-19 wreaked a lot of havoc on the surging growth for renewable energy. Investors backed off and projects were stalled. But things are starting to bounce back this year. Growth is likely to continue in 2021, fueled by major turning points. China has now committed to reaching carbon neutrality by 2060, putting the world's biggest market for solar and wind power on the path to ramp up installations as it begins its next 5-year plan. Some analysts are now predicting that the U.S. power sector will approaching peak natural gas, so that will leave room for solar panel installations to build on the ongoing boom. To understand what's driving the renewable expansion, as well as what might hold it back, this is a report and the major forces shaping the global renewable market in 2021. So residential installations in the U.S. dropped nearly 20% last year in the second quarter of 2021. But by the end of the year, the sector has bounced back and the country added a total of 19 gigawatts of total solar power based on projections in December from the Wood Mackenzie Institute and the SEIA, Solar something. It would be slightly more than existed in the entire nation of Colombia at the end of 2019. Solar installations have peaked in the first 12 gigawatts. Installations have doubled in China. Even after the government locked down large swaths of the country early in the year, businesses still wanted solar. The main solar industry group expects a record surge in business over the next 5 years following President Xi Jinping's September announcement that the country will be zero out carbon emissions by 2060. New installations will be soaring by 2025. There is a new battery boom in the United States. The new battery storage capacity in the U.S. for more than doubled in the third quarter of 2020. And projects in California were the main reasons for the surge. Now, Spain is emerging as a major solar powerhouse. Electricity from solar farms in the country with Europe's greatest solar potential was up over 60% in 2020 compared to 2019, generating over 15,000 gigawatt hours of power, according to data from the country's grid manager, Red Electrica. Well, the sunny European country has about a third of the installed solar capacity of the EU's leader, Germany. Spain's sector is about to grow at about double German pace in the next 2 years. Renewables are topping out fossil fuels in Europeans' energy. During the height of the pandemic, when overall power demand sank, renewables energy power share of the grid surged in Europe. About 40% of the electricity in the first half of 2020 in the European Union came from renewable sources, compared from 34% from plants burning fossil fuels, according to environmental group Ember. The UK went coal-free for more than 2 months. A 67-day period became Britain's longest stretch without using coal since the Industrial Revolution and helped make 2020 the country's greenest year yet for its power grid. Britain is going to completely phase out the polluting fuel by 2025 as a growing share of its power comes from wind farms. Prime Minister Boris Johnson also vowed to ban new gas-powered cars by 2020 and spend $1 billion this decade to capture carbon emissions from at least 2 industrial hubs. Solar installations dropped in India by a lot. India's debt-burdened utilities were further battered by the world's largest lockdown in 2020, leading to a 72% drop in solar installations and the lowest addition of wind power in more than a decade. On the plus side, though, bids to develop new solar projects continue to set new records, meaning that once power companies' finances are in order, it is a bet that solar will be the cheapest option. Another bit of good news is that there are clearer skies when factories and streets were empty, which meant there wasn't as much smog blocking the sunshine, allowing for higher generation of the country's existing panels. Australia's grid is overwhelmed. Higher prices and abundant sunshine have spurred a love affair with rooftop solar, with about 29% of the households now outfitted with panels. That's wreaking havoc on power utilities, with daytime demand for electricity from the grid falling to record lows in 3 states in 2020, leaving expensive power plants running well below capacity. Solar panel makers are facing rising prices. An explosion and a flood shut out 2 Chinese factories that produce polysilicon, a crucial material for photovoltaic cells, sending prices up 75% in less than 2 months. Solar glass prices also soared to increase use of two-sided or bifacial panels, boosted demand while capacity was constrained by limits on heavily polluting glass factories in China. The rising costs have so far not affected sales, but they have rippled through the solar supply chain. Module prices experiencing the first quarterly rise since 2015. This could be bad news for project developers who bid low prices, assuming equipment costs will continue to follow their long historic decline. New climate risk change. While electricity shutoffs prompted by wildfire risks have contributed to mounting U.S. owner interest in rooftop systems of batteries, Northern Californians in September learned a cruel irony. Smoke from a large blaze blotted out the sun, so rooftop solar withered. Honestly, the industry looks good overall. We are coming out the other side of COVID-19. The pandemic has shifted the way humans operate, and technology in the coming years will reflect that, including clean and renewable energy projects. shift to the cloud. As of June 2020, 42% of the United States was working from home, with another 33% of the labor force not working, mostly due to the impact of the lockdown recession. Once this shift has certainly been seen, we'll continue to see a shift in the cloud, maximizing remote management and control, minimizing human interaction and the need for human intervention. By turning towards a smart off-grid system, companies will ultimately be saving money and enhancing security because issues can be resolved before they become a problem, and expensive or risky face-to-face service calls can be avoided. Additionally, the market now recognizes the elimination of power transmission and distribution systems can significantly reduce our carbon footprint, potentially having an equal or bigger impact than the movement of solar energy. Now, with the Biden presidency, now with the finalized election of Biden, his plan for climate change and environmental justice will commit to spending $400 billion over the next 10 years on research and development and innovation, empowering the U.S. forward in global competition on clean energy. What does that mean? In the U.S., it will fuel the widespread adoption of renewable energy and electric vehicles, and would help to and it's going to help to foster the growth of American clean tech and manufacturing sectors. The promise is that it will positively impact jobs, and the industry needs to prove that to the wider market. On the international level, there will be return to focus on international partnerships with its trading partners, including Canada and Mexico. With President Biden's promise finally fulfilled, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, his foreign policy approach will place pressure on America's allies to similarly invest in clean tech and lower carbon initiatives. The widespread and consistent carbon taxing methods are going to be necessary. Renewable energy is here to stay, and as such, policies and programs are going to need to reflect that. Currently, taxes and policies change to reflect the party currently in charge. By being more comprehensively and consistently adopted, all companies will have to make the shift towards renewable technologies. Putting a price on carbon that destabilizes our climate means really taxing the bad instead of the goods. The clean renewable energy becomes cheaper than emitting greenhouse gases, mostly carbon dioxide, which becomes expensive. This is why this is a nonpartisan policy. It will also see a continued and accelerated reduction in energy storage costs, supporting an innovative energy storage technology. Energy storage costs are a limiting factor in the ongoing accelerated adoption of clean and renewable energy technology spaces. As costs in renewable technologies continue to decline, storage is going to play an important role in the green revolution. Lastly, in order to shift to a low-carbon future, one of the most obvious and yet crucial steps that needs to be taken is a fast and accelerated vaccine rollout. One thing we can all agree on is that we are looking forward to going back to normal. An effective and successful vaccine rollout will enable a strong economic recovery. Economic stimulus will help push the green revolution and allow innovative and aggressive financing models to support the clean, renewable technologies and business models. And in doing so, the pandemic may indeed help us to avoid more extreme impacts of climate change. All right. There is a turning point now for renewable subsidization costs. So the rapid development in renewable technology for the last 20 years has been impressive, but that wouldn't have been possible without government support. There are various types of subsidization schemes. The governments across the globe have promoted renewable energy. Many believe this was a necessary cost that all energy consumers had to bear to ensure a clean energy future. Now we're close to reaching a turning point. Whereas in the last 20 years, the renewable energy levies on consumer bills have largely trended upwards. 2021 could see the start of a downward trend. I unfortunately don't see this likely to happen. Costs are coming down every year. Let's move on. All right, renewable energy in China. Right now, China is the leading country in electricity production from renewable energy sources, with over double the generation of the second-ranking country, the United States. By the end of 2019, the country had a total capacity of 790 gigawatts of renewable power, mainly from hydro, solar, and wind. Now, China's installed capacity for solar power reached 240 gigawatts by 2020. As of quarter 3, 2020, China's wind power capacity was at 224 gigawatts. China sees its renewables as a source of energy security and is not only to reduce carbon emissions. Their action plans for the prevention and control of air pollution issued by the China State Council in 2013 illustrates the government's desire to increase the share of renewables in China's energy mix. Unlike coal, oil, and gas, the supplies which are finite and subject to geopolitical tensions, renewable energy systems can be built and used wherever there is sufficient water and sun. As Chinese renewable manufacturing has grown, the cost of renewable energy technologies have dropped dramatically. Innovation has helped, but the main driver of reduced costs has been market expansion. In 2015, China became the world's largest producer of photovoltaic power, with 43 gigawatts of total installed capacity. From 2005 to 2014, the production of solar cells in China has expanded 100-fold. However, China has not expected to achieve grid parity when an alternative source of energy is as cheap as the power and purchased from the grid until 2022. In 2017, investments in renewable energy mounted to US $279.8 billion worldwide, with China according for US $126.6 billion, or 45% of the global investments. All right. Overall, the world is trending towards sustainable energy, and the technology is only getting better every year. All right. Thanks for listening. This has been the Yukon Gold podcast with Will S. Yukon Gold is about creating a sustainable future for everyone on planet Earth. We help people to reach their full potential by delivering the gold standard in renewable energy design and education. Follow, like, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and check us out at yukongoldenergy.com.